Africa stands on the edge of an energy revolution that could redefine its place in the global economy. Beneath its soil lies the key to the world's future: the minerals that power electric vehicles, smartphones, and renewable energy storage systems. Lithium, cobalt, manganese, nickel, and graphite are the building blocks of the battery age. As nations around the world race to replace fossil fuels with clean technology, demand for these materials is soaring. And Africa, home to more than half of the world's known cobalt and vast lithium reserves, is sitting on the foundation of the next industrial revolution. Yet, for now, the continent remains largely a supplier of raw materials rather than a producer of finished batteries. That is beginning to change. A growing number of African nations are realizing that the real wealth is not just in what's beneath the ground, but in what can be built above it. In the last decade, countries such as the Democratic Republic of Congo, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Ghana, and Zambia have become central to global discussions about energy transition and electric vehicles. The DRC, long known for its copper belt, produces more than 70% of the world's cobalt, a crucial mineral used in lithium-ion batteries. Zimbabwe is emerging as one of the biggest lithium producers in Africa, with the Bikita and Arcadia mines attracting massive investments from Chinese and Western companies. Namibia and Ghana have also entered the lithium race, while Mozambique and Tanzania are expanding their graphite and nickel output. But what's truly new is that African governments are no longer satisfied with being just exporters of unprocessed ore. They want to refine, manufacture, and profit within their own borders. This shift is driven by a deep realization that history must not repeat itself. For decades, Africa's resources have been shipped abroad, refined elsewhere, and then sold back to the continent at a much higher price. The same pattern that defined the oil and gold industries is now visible in the early stages of the green energy transition. Without intervention, Africa could again become the world's raw material supplier, rich in minerals but poor in returns. To prevent that, a movement toward value addition and local manufacturing is gaining strength across the continent. The most ambitious example comes from the Democratic Republic of Congo and Zambia, which have signed a groundbreaking partnership to build regional battery manufacturing plants. Both countries understand that their future lies not in exporting raw cobalt and copper, but in producing battery precursors and cells. The African Export-Import Bank and the United Nations Economic Commission for Africa have pledged support for feasibility studies and financing. If fully realized, this initiative could make Central Africa the heartbeat of global electric vehicle production, allowing Africans to export high-value components instead of raw minerals. Zimbabwe, too, has made a bold move. In 2022, the government banned the export of unprocessed lithium ore, declaring that the country would no longer allow its resources to be carted away without adding value locally. That decision angered some international investors but gained praise across the continent. Since then, Zimbabwe has seen increased investment in local refining facilities, with new plants in Bikita and Goromonzi designed to produce battery-grade lithium carbonate. The government expects this to create thousands of jobs and raise the value of lithium exports from a few $100 million to over $10 billion in the next decade. It's a defining example of how resource nationalism, when managed responsibly, can drive industrial growth. In Namibia, authorities are following a similar path. The country, already a global leader in uranium exports, has discovered significant lithium deposits and is insisting that companies process them locally. Namibia's energy ministry has made it clear that the era of raw material export is over. Plans are underway to establish a green industrial zone near Walvis Bay to host refining and battery component factories powered by solar energy. Namibia also intends to collaborate with neighboring Botswana and South Africa to create a regional value chain, leveraging South Africa's industrial infrastructure and Namibia's raw materials. These efforts are also being echoed in West Africa, where Ghana is moving aggressively into lithium development. The government recently signed a landmark agreement requiring that any lithium mined within the country must go through domestic processing. The policy also ensures that the state holds at least a 13% stake in every lithium operation, guaranteeing that profits stay within the country. Ghana's long-term plan is to build an integrated lithium to battery manufacturing sector. With the right investment, Accra envisions a future where African-made batteries power electric motorcycles, buses, and even homes across the continent. This continental momentum reflects a broader geopolitical awakening. The world's transition to clean energy has made Africa indispensable, but this time, African nations want to shape the terms of engagement. From Washington to Beijing, global powers are competing for access to Africa's critical minerals. Yet, unlike in the past, African leaders are demanding fairer partnerships, joint ventures, local jobs, technology transfer, and infrastructure investments. The message is clear. Africa is no longer for extraction, it is for collaboration. If these policies hold, the potential impact could be massive. According to the African Development Bank, value addition in the mining sector could multiply Africa's earnings by 5. Instead of exporting 1 ton of raw lithium for a few $100s, a processed ton of lithium carbonate sells for over $6,000, and a finished battery pack can be worth up to $70,000. Capturing just 10% of that manufacturing chain could transform African economies, boosting GDP, creating millions of jobs, and establishing a sustainable base for regional trade. Yet, challenges remain. Infrastructure is still a major bottleneck. Battery manufacturing requires reliable electricity, advanced logistics, and skilled labor, areas where many African nations still lag. Transporting raw materials from mines to refineries is often slow and costly due to poor road and rail systems. Energy shortages, particularly in Central Africa, threaten to limit production capacity. There's also a need for environmental oversight, as mining for lithium and cobalt can damage ecosystems if not properly managed. To overcome these barriers, governments must balance ambition with responsibility, ensuring that this green revolution doesn't repeat the mistakes of the oil boom. Another crucial factor is technology transfer. Building a local battery industry requires advanced knowledge in chemistry, engineering, and automation. African countries must negotiate contracts that include training programs, research centers, and local partnerships. Rwanda and Kenya have already taken steps in this direction by launching innovation hubs and electric mobility programs. Startups like Ampersand in Kigali are producing electric motorcycles powered by locally assembled batteries. Similar ventures are spreading in Uganda, Nigeria, and South Africa. These early initiatives prove that African entrepreneurs can compete in the clean tech sector if given access to the right tools and funding. International partners are starting to notice. The European Union has launched a global gateway program that invests in Africa's green energy infrastructure, while China continues to finance mining and processing projects across the continent. But Africans are increasingly calling for transparency and fairness in these deals. The focus is shifting from short-term extraction to long-term partnerships that prioritize African ownership. The establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, adds another layer of opportunity. By eliminating tariffs and harmonizing trade rules, it could create a massive continental market for African-made batteries, electric vehicles, and renewable energy equipment. By 2030, analysts predict that Africa's battery minerals industry could be worth over $100 billion annually. If the continent captures even a small portion of that value, it could fund schools, hospitals, infrastructure, and digital innovation. More importantly, it would prove that Africa can industrialize on its own terms. The road will not be easy, but it is now clearly defined. With the right leadership, collaboration, and investment, Africa could move from being the mine of the world to being the factory of the future. The story of Africa's battery revolution is not just about minerals, it's about power in every sense of the word. Power to light homes, power to drive vehicles, and power to determine destiny. The world's clean energy future runs through Africa's soil, but the continent's leaders are ensuring that it also runs through African hands. When future historians write about the 21st century's great transformation, they may look back and say, this was the moment Africa decided to stop exporting potential and start exporting progress. If these efforts continue, by 2050 Africa could be home to a thriving clean energy industrial ecosystem. Lithium refineries in Zimbabwe and Ghana could feed massive battery plants in Zambia and Congo, while electric vehicle factories assemble cars for African roads and global markets alike. Solar-powered microgrids could provide the electricity to run them all. Millions of young Africans, trained in modern engineering and design, could lead the world in green innovation. The continent's role in the global economy would no longer be passive or peripheral. It would be central, indispensable. The same lands once exploited for their minerals would now be engines of prosperity. And in the heart of Africa, where copper and cobalt once left the ports raw and unprocessed, gleaming battery packs and electric vehicles would roll out proudly bearing the label, Made in Africa.